and you're just taking control of what you're consuming.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I've noticed that a lot of times when you turn people onto your foods and everything, they seem to have their favorites that they just automatically, part of that research you're talking about, that's just something they want to get on a regular basis. I mean, I was watching some of your, I guess would be considered regular customers at the event that we had on Saturday, and I know some of them were coming up saying, I want the carrot tuna, but I want to try something else that you might have suggested as well, something that they wanted to try, the one that they've gotten into their habit of eating now, but then there was something else that you were telling them about that could steer them to replace another dish. And one of the things that I've really found interesting, because a good friend of mine, and he's had some issues with his health. He's had a stroke several years back and everything. But one of the things that we talk about is that there also seems to be, coming back to the vegan lifestyle, a move for people to try to find alternatives to do if they're going to still celebrate a certain holiday. Now, we know that certain holidays have other issues because of some of the colonial pieces and things of that nature that are part of these holidays, but there's no doubt that Thanksgiving and Christmas are very much family tradition. So I've noticed that here in this area, there's a lot of people that are starting to do, and I think you were even involved with one that's become quite popular, like these vegan Thanksgiving celebrations. So they're like saying, look, you can have your Thanksgiving dinner, you can have your common bond of sharing with the people and your family and everything, but we're going to have it here at a certain location, and it's going to be basically just like, I don't know whether y'all got the TV there to watch the football game, but everything else seems to be the same tradition as you would have regularly with your family on Thanksgiving, in the sense of the bonding and the connecting with the family, but you're doing it over vegan dishes. And it seems like, I know there's a very popular one here at Durham, but it seems like they're just becoming popular around the country, where people are saying, look, I don't want to give up the tradition of the bonding that goes with Thanksgiving, but I don't necessarily want to have to eat the turkey and in some cases, if they're deep south people, the chitlins and the chicken and the rest of the dishes that come traditionally with Thanksgiving. So I was wondering if you could tell a little bit about how, and Dean's actually in New Jersey, but I was wondering if you could talk about how the one that came here came about, and if you know if this kind of thing exists in Atlanta, because I imagine you're still in touch with your vegan community in Atlanta and some other places, and how these things are rising up as an alternative to the quote-unquote traditional Thanksgiving and even the quote-unquote traditional Christmas dinners.
Yeah, the thing I like to talk about with respect to traditional Thanksgiving, and you might hear me say Thanks-taking, because that's what I normally say, and I say that because that's the interpretation of thanks for taking your land. So, number one, when we had the physical location in South Square on 15501, we hosted the Triangle Vegetarian Society's Thanks-taking celebration. And we did not attempt to replace the traditional items with a substitute chicken or substitute turkey. We just did the food that we made. We had barbecue jackfruit, which nobody necessarily has barbecue at Thanksgiving events, but we did the things that we knew people would enjoy consuming. We had our kale salad. We had some cooked greens as well. Had some cooked turnips and mustard. We had mac and cheese. We had the things that were synonymous with the experience. We had the green beans. The thing that we do to ourselves to make it more difficult to make a shift is we make it more difficult for ourselves. People enjoy eating great tasting food. That's the foundation. So if you were to replace what you normally have with your ham and your turkey and your macaroni and cheese and your beets and your, trying to run through the list the way I remember it, potato salad, if you just try to replace everything with a substitute of those same items, you're doing yourself a disservice. Vegan Flavor Cafe focuses on a delightful eating experience where you can taste the energy of the food and the folks who prepared the food. It's the type of thing where you're consuming it and you feel good about what you're eating and you enjoy the taste of what you're eating. But ideally, when you had that plate the other night, you had our potato salad, you had our kale salad, and you had our chickpea tuna. And the goal was for you to enjoy the eating experience, to enjoy the flavors and how they came together, as well as say, wow, this tastes good.
Right.
And enjoying it is also, after it's gone, being able to consciously reflect on it and say, wow, that was good. And so as far as being with family around the holidays, ideally you're eating food that makes you feel good, because it's not just because you're familiar with the taste and it's habitual and it's the same old food, but you're with family, but this food makes me feel good. This experience of eating, as well as sharing the company with whom you're sharing the company with, makes you feel good. So that's number one. And yes, you're absolutely able to get a plate or tray of anything anywhere where you have access to a vegan restaurant. I'm corresponding with somebody in Fayetteville. We've done a lot of events in Fayetteville where we've vended food. They don't have a vegan restaurant there. We know that we're going to be down there with a vegan restaurant once the franchising is up and running, because there are a lot of folks who want to eat better and can't. At the very least, if there's somebody who is attempting to not only impact themselves but impact a family member, we say take one thing that you know is that heavy hitter. It might be our baked spaghetti. Most people do the kale salad. Take something that you know would be a good representation of eating something that doesn't have meat ingredients or seafood ingredients or dairy or egg, and let them experience that. Because all they really need to know, they don't need to know that it's vegan. They just need to know that it's free of those ingredients and it tastes good.
Now you
and
talked
that
to,
will be helpful.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, I've got a question for Dean real quickly, but I'm going to get to his question. But first I got another one for you. We talk a lot of times, not on this show, but just in general, about the fact that a lot of the food that we get now are so processed, and that means that we lost a lot of our land and our property. And that really has impacted our society, meaning the African-American society, and even some of the other societies that are, quote-unquote, according to the definition of the American world, minority populations. I'm thinking about like some of the Latin population, the Latin farmers, and definitely the Native American farmers. And I was wondering if in your growth as a vegan and developing your brand and developing your contacts and everything, if you've had a chance to talk to some of our black farmers and some of our other minority farmers and find a way that they can work together with you in trying to create your brand, because I just see a lot of times we're losing our small farmers in general, just period, but definitely our minority small farmers. So I was wondering if you had a chance to reach out to any of these folks that are trying to keep that tradition alive and talk to them about growing healthy products at their farms if they are still able to maintain their farms.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm very, very pleased with the access I have to organic farmers in the area who are melanin dominant, because they have been tremendously helpful and resourceful. When I started buying organic produce from the farmers market at Central Park in downtown Durham, there was one farmer black farmer who was certified organic and had a very nice variety, and they would always have a long line. For everybody was on their line looking to get what they had. And so I developed a relationship with them where I would go to the farm and pick up bulk And then I would get to a point where if they could bring it with them on Saturday, I could pick it up then. But then I got to the point when we had the cafe, they would just deliver to us. And between them and then another black farmer at the market, now I had two. And it was then we had somebody else to come and sit down and say, listen, what is something that you need that we can grow for you? So then that was great, because the thing that we probably use the most is kale because of our kale salad. So that there have been a plethora of black farmers in particular and organic farmers in general who have served us well to be able to produce this farm-to-table dynamic that you want. And so, it again, even with that, it feels good when I'm making the purchase of this produce, who I'm getting it from, and the love and respect and value that they have in what they're growing. That energy is coming to me where I'm going to enjoy preparing this food and then bringing it to whomever is consuming it. So that's the best feeling. I mean, one of my aspirations is really to be able to grow everything that I use and have a facility where I can go into the back of my facility and pick everything and bring it in. So that's one of my grander visions. I can grow everything myself. But very grateful for having access to farmers and utilize that farm-to-table experience and be able to talk about that to customers and to folks who are consuming our food.
Why do you think that is so popular now? Because, I mean, I've heard that term used by even some of our people in the food truck industry here, because we know that that's prominent throughout the country, but definitely we have a nice, for whatever reason, food truck culture here and everything. I mean, I think we've got a food truck rodeo coming up this weekend and everything. But why do you think that the whole farm-to-table thing is becoming so popular now? Is it because people are tired of the processed foods, or what is the, in your opinion, the impetus behind this new movement where people are definitely wanting to get stuff from the farm, whether it's one of our farms or whether it's just anybody's organic farm, and have it come to their, either to their table or to their food truck or someplace that they're able to have direct access to it? Why do you think that this is becoming so popular in 2017?
It feels good to do the right thing. And we know that the right thing is to take care, celebrate, uphold the farmer, whomever he or she is, to hold them up in the light and celebrate them. It feels good. They are doing one of the most important things in this life experience, growing our food, which is essential to our life and being. And it feels great to be a part of that experience. I got to a point where there were two things or two professions that I valued the most in life: farmers and teachers. Because the impact, the number of folks that they impact in a given day, the level of commitment and the level of work that's associated with it, that's not offering disrespect to police officers, to anyone in the medical field. It's no disrespect to them. But the farmer, the foundation of what we consume, comes from them and their work. And it's just not to be taken lightly. And I think for a while we were so technologically spoiled by being able to put food in boxes and be able to have these preservatives and allow these things to sit on our shelves. And, you know, we didn't need the farm as much. We didn't need the fresh food as much. But I guess at a certain point, people realize, well, wait a minute. As we start to process what's going on with all of these degenerative diseases, what's happening with these companies that are increasing their production, increasing their profit,